Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone has learned quite a bit from what Mr. Benjamin talked about for the 2024 winter season. He looked at the recent atmospheric changes during the month of May, so it's an appropriate time to find out what we can expect for both the 2024 wet and the hurricane seasons. I will basically start with a summary of the state of the local climate influences, because some of you may not know basically what's behind what's happening over the next few months. So that's what we will start with first of all. So for us in Trinidad and Tobago, we have our three major phenomena that we look at. The three main drivers that we will be focusing on for this wet and hurricane season outlook are the El Nino, which is the ENSO phenomena that we know as El Nino and La Nina. Also, secondly, we're looking at the warmth of the tropical Atlantic Ocean temperatures, which are usually east of us, which can influence the number of systems that we get, as well as our activity during the wet season. And thirdly, we'll be looking at the differences in the oceanic warmth north and south of the equator, which is known as the Atlantic meridional mode. So that's some of the jargon that you may be hearing today, but we'll try and explain it as we go through. Now, first of all, we're looking at the climate driver, which is the ENSO, known as the El Nino Southern Oscillation. You can see that on the screen here. In the Pacific, we tend to find that currently our ocean temperature departures are from the normal. So right now, we have for the past months, the El Nino has influenced the local climate with dry conditions in parts and dry unusual conditions in parts of Trinidad. So we've seen basically right there along the eastern areas of the Pacific. You can see the little blue areas next to South America. Those are some of the cooler waters coming through, and that's showing that we are seeing some signs of the El Nino weakening and also maybe are transitioning into the neutral conditions by the time we get to June. So these anomalies, which are in the central and eastern tropical ocean, are negative currently, and that will continue at least as we go through the next few months. Now, as the El Nino transitions, the La Nina may develop in June or August 2024. There's a 49% chance of that occurring, or by July, September, with a higher 69% chance. So the La Nina will likely affect our local conditions in the coming months. And with regards to La Nina, it has been found that in the Southern Caribbean, and including Trinidad and Tobago, it exhibits wetter than normal late season and a dry season. So our wet season later on could likely be wetter than normal, but we could also, once you get into our dry season next year, we could be seeing wetter than normal conditions. But we're jumping ahead so far, but we'll look basically right now at what is our second influencer. Our second influencer is the sea surface temperatures in the area of interest in Trinidad and Tobago. So that is the waters to the east of the Eastern Caribbean, all the way to the west coast of Northern Africa. And this is a key factor because once we have much warmer than average conditions in that area, it will favor the expansion of the rainy season. And that means at both ends. That means we will see an earlier onset as well as a later cessation of the season. So currently, our sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic are above average, and this may come into play with the strength of the tropical waves, as well as the fluctuation of the ITCs of northward into the Eastern Caribbean. Now, the third influencer that we've been also looking at is that North Sea sea surface temperature gradient, what we talked about as the Atlantic meridional mode. So this is a key facilitator of the ITCZ. It basically influences our local rainfall during the season, and the AMM is a coupled ocean atmospheric phenomena, and it basically also links to tropical cyclone development in the North Atlantic. Now, a positive phase of the AMM is basically where you see warmer than average northern tropical Atlantic relative to the southern tropical Atlantic. And the opposite is true as well. But what I'm showing you here now is a tropical Atlantic and a snapshot as we go through the coming months. What you will notice is that all through the season, from June to September, the Atlantic meridional mode is positive. Now, what that means is that we'll continue to see quite a bit in terms of the warm conditions that we've seen over the past few months, particularly record warm conditions in the Atlantic Ocean. And when the AMM is in a positive mode, the ITCZ is displaced over our area more frequently and it becomes more volatile. So this is important because the ITCZ provides Trinidad and Tobago with most of the wet season rainfall. Now, according to the seasonal forecast models, the Atlantic meridional mode is likely to be positive for the next 3 months as we go through June, July, and then continuing through August into September 2024. Now, sea surface temperatures will remain above average late August into September. And to remind you that this is the usual peak of the tropical cyclone activity. So we're going to have very warm conditions, above average warm conditions at our sea surface temperatures as we go through the heart of our hurricane season. So looking towards this slide, you can just see here the colors between the Atlantic meridional mode being positive over the next few months. And this is some of the one of the drivers that we've been looking at. Look at the forecast for the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season as well as the upcoming wet season. So what you're looking at here is a picture of the North Atlantic hurricane basin. Now, all international hurricane prediction centers predict this entire basin. And I will show you a couple here. The Colorado State University has a prediction of 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes forming in our basin. They've also included the fact that we will likely see just around 5 major hurricanes. But bearing in mind that for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, we'll be watching all of these systems as they come across the Atlantic basin in the next few months. And another prediction which has come up from the AccuWeather private weather company, they are predicting 20 to 25 named storms with 8 to 12 possible hurricanes. And the tropical storm risk, which is another entity, is forecasting 23 tropical storms and possibly 11 hurricanes and 5 major hurricanes. Now, commonality between all these forecasts is that they're all for above average tropical storm activity in the entire region. Now, again, this is for the entire Atlantic basin, but for us in Trinidad and Tobago, we need to drill down into where our area of interest lies. So for Trinidad and Tobago, we like to get down to the models and the analyses on a smaller scale. And for only then can we see the tropical cyclones that will form in our area, and they will tend to be a threat to us over the next few months. Notice the white box here signifies where we will focus our attention on. It's basically on a latitude south of the Cabo Verde Islands, down towards around 7 degrees north, and it extends from around 20 degrees west, longitude all the way across to around 65. So that's where we'll be focusing our attention on over the next few months. Now, on average, we get 4 named storms forming in the area of interest, Trinidad and Tobago, and usually only one becomes a hurricane in the area. I recommend that last year we did see quite a bit of activity in that area, as 2023 was quite active. And that activity will likely continue as we go through 2024. So looking then, our 2024 prediction basically shows that we'll be seeing above average activity. There's a high probability for above number of storms and hurricanes for 2024. The probability for above normal activity is at 58%. Probability for normal activity is 32%. And probability for below normal activity is only 10%. You can see here we're definitely favoring the enhanced activity that we saw from 2023, and that will likely continue into 2024. Now, in terms of the numbers, the 2024 prediction, it favors 6 tropical storms as the most likely number of storms to form in our area. The average is usually 4. However, there will be a likely range of 3 to 8 tropical storms forming in the area, and of these, likely to see 3 hurricanes forming in the area of interest to Trinidad and Tobago. But it is possible that we could see maybe up to 4 of these becoming hurricanes. Again, these are ranges that we'll be looking at over the next few months. So the region faces another active hurricane season in the area of interest. Heightened tropical storm activity is likely during the peak of the season from August to October, but most likely in August and September, which is where we tend to find most of our activity occurring. Now, any tropical cyclones which are forming in the area of interest have the potential to threaten Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, and a season only needs one tropical storm or hurricane to cause devastation in Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, or any other island. So, as we face this active season, Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service urges all agencies to escalate their hurricane season preparations. So, as you can see here, these are the numbers that we're looking at. But in terms of the key points, we've just outlined that the activity that we will see this year will likely be in line with what we've seen in 2023. And this is vital because even for systems that are passing near to Trinidad and Tobago, which may not necessarily have a direct impact or a direct landfall, the influence of these systems can still be felt through the idea of feeder bands that can come from these systems as well. So the likelihood of us seeing heavy rainfall from systems passing or even direct effects of a tropical storm winds and conditions is there. So again, it only takes one of these systems to make it a bad season. So we've looked at the hurricane season for 2024.